Well, it's 6 o'clock, everyone. Hopefully everyone is going to be able to enjoy part of this beautiful evening that we have out there. For everyone who doesn't know me, my name is Ron Hogue. I'm the Chief of Police here in Essex. On the screen also is Susanna Weller. She is with the Community Justice Center here in Essex. Susanna, do you have control? I believe I've given it to you so you can admit people while I'm speaking. Okay, perfect. So thank you very, very much for everyone who's come to join us tonight to talk about Mr. Yandow's release, which will be next Wednesday. We wanted to have this meeting so that we could bring together some of the professionals that have been involved over the last few weeks in trying to manage this release and what we knew would be a situation that would cause great concern for folks who live here in Essex. So the purpose of tonight is to basically give folks an opportunity to speak to people who actually are familiar with this case, so that we can share factual information with you about what we know, what we can do, what we cannot do, and how we've been planning in the background to try to handle this. Let me first say that as the Chief of Police, my first concern is public safety. For the folks that work here in Essex, or work and live here in Essex, and that are citizens of this community and throughout Vermont. And so one of the things that concerned me mainly about this release when I was notified about 3 to 4 weeks ago was that he was going to be, number one, living here in Essex, and number two, the type of crime that he committed back in 1996. Knowing about that is obviously going to cause concern for many, many people. So therefore, once we learned about that, we started putting together plans as to how we could make this transition into the community a little easier for everyone involved, or at least try. So let me first say that law enforcement and the Department of Corrections does not make laws. We do not make the laws. We function in a world of law and a country of law, and we follow the law as we are given them by our legislators in Montpelier. Having said that, we now have a situation where Mr. Yandow is going to be released into the community next Wednesday. He has served 25 years in the Department of Corrections, and he has served his maximum sentence. Yes. When he's released, he will be a free citizen throughout the community as he chooses.
What's your plans?
Having to register as a sex offender for the next 10 years.
Well, I was going to order it ahead of time so we could just.
Could I ask everyone to mute their microphones before we go any further?
Yeah, but you can pick it up and play it outside.
One of us.
Why?
So what we're going to do is after I'm done speaking here, I'm going to go ahead and allow the representative of the Department of Corrections to go ahead and speak.
All right. Okay, I'll be in the car at 6:30. Bye-bye.
To the person on the phone, can you please mute your microphone?
She didn't even hear you say mute.
Can we have everyone mute their microphones if you haven't done so already? So when we get to the question and answer part of this, if you could then unmute yourself and then let us know who you are, and then direct your question out, and we'll try to get one of the professionals who's here to answer that tonight. So what have we been doing the last 3 or 4 weeks? So after learning about the release of Mr. Yandow, I contacted the Essex CJC to talk about how we could give some support for Mr. Yandow in order to make his transition into the community something that we could monitor, and also be able to give him some types of resources to help him so that he doesn't reoffend, or at least increase the chances that he won't reoffend. So what that's normally known as is a circle of support, and normally Department of Corrections sponsors those, and we handle those with the Community Justice Center quite frequently. And Christina Nunn is on the call tonight, and she is the specialist who normally handles those releases. The difference with this one is that he is not under any type of supervision when he's released. So therefore, this is simply the town and village of Essex Junction trying to do the right thing by giving him what's called a reentry circle. And I'm going to allow the folks from the CJC to talk more about what that is when it's their turn here in just a few minutes. So I'm going to turn this over to, I think, someone from the Department of Corrections next. I'm not sure who is going to be their spokesman tonight, but I'd like to, if you could explain what's going on and how this release is being handled from your end.
They're probably still muted.
That could be.
Hey, Ron, I'm working from Randy's computer. We had some computer problems in my office, so I apologize for that.
Okay, perfect. Are you all set now?
Okay, so Mr. Yandow is being released from jail next Wednesday. He is an untreated sex offender with a moderate high risk to reoffend. He is served a long time in jail, and we have reached out to the PD to reach out to the public to talk about his release, to educate the public a little bit. He will be on the sex offender registry for the state of Vermont, and they will be keeping tabs on his whereabouts after he is done with corrections, because once he maxes out, corrections has no longer any involvement with him.
Okay. Susanna or Christina, do you want to take the part for the CJC and what we are trying to do?
Yes, I can speak to that. I'm Christina Natton, Reentry Coordinator at the Essex Community Justice Center. So as a reentry coordinator, I help people who are getting out of prison reenter the community in a safe manner. Our main goals are no more victims and public safety. What we offer a person typically is a circle, which involves volunteers and myself, as well as the PO in most instances. In Mr. Yandow's case, there won't be a probation officer involved, and it will be the Essex Police Department. Also, if Mr. Yandow desires to engage, it will be a police officer assigned by Chief Hogue, myself, and 1 or 2 volunteers. Our goals for supporting Mr. Yandow would be motivation to not reoffend. Study after study has shown that when we give regard and support, the people are actually less likely to reoffend or recidivate, and it helps with public safety for support. I'll leave it at that for now.
Susanna, want to jump in there, or do you have anything?
I feel like Christina covered the basics because we know that if people feel ostracized or ridiculed, they're more likely to reoffend. We try to create a more welcoming space in the interest of public safety. So thank you, Christina.
So one of the things I just want to point out real quick here, and I kind of jumped over it, was at the beginning of the meeting, Susanna posted some information for HopeWorks, and we certainly understand that this emotional time could really caused some people some emotional stress. HopeWorks is aware of what's going on, and they've let us know that folks can give them a call to help out with that. I'm also going to go ahead.
HopeWorks has both the hotline number, which I put in the chat, and they also have opened their chat line from their website. So if you go to their website and seek out their chat line, you can chat with a support person there as well. HopeWorks is open to hearing from anyone, whether you've experienced sexual violence yourself, you have friends or family who have, and this is bringing stuff up for you, or even if just this is bringing stuff up for you, they are open to any of us calling and getting the support we need. So please take good care of yourself during this meeting. Take the supports if you need them. If being a part of this conversation is too hard, please either take a break, or if you need to disengage, you can disengage. This is being recorded, so if you feel the need to re-engage later, you'll have that opportunity. I just know that this can be a hard conversation for folks. Thank you.
Right, and in the chat, I also included the number for community outreach, which is our service through Howard Mental Health that we are partnered with here with the police department, and they can also be a great resource for someone for many types of different issues, not just this, but for many types of things, and they can certainly be a good resource for people to seek out. So now that we've let everybody speak and they basically explained the problem, which we would like to, I'm sorry, I'm trying to let people in here. So I just wanted to explain just a couple of things from the police department's perspective, what we are not allowed to do. So as a police department and law enforcement, we are not allowed to treat Mr. Yandow any differently than we would another citizen, other than doing sex offender registry checks, which we'll be doing quarterly as required by the state law. He will be required to be on sex offender status, and correct me if I'm wrong, DLC, but he'll be on there for 10 years. And he's required to keep his address updated with the registry for that period. And we do checks on that, like I said, every 90 days. So those are the things that we are trying to do to and have done in the last few weeks to try to mitigate this. As Christina mentioned, we are offering services to him when he gets out that we believe will help us try to make, or at least give us a better chance that he won't reoffend. Those are completely voluntary because he is a free citizen once he's out. So he will be, that is up to him. And at this point, we don't have an answer as to whether he is going to participate or not. But we hope to have that prior to next Wednesday. So with that, I believe everyone has had a chance to speak. I'm going to open it up for questions if anyone has any. If you could you raise your hand and then let us know who you are and then direct your question, and we'll try to get whoever is most qualified to answer it.
Ron, Frank's shooting April on the phone. We're not on Zoom.
Okay. If you're on the phone, then yeah, just speak out and we'll get to you. Okay. I think I see Haley Morgan has her hand up.
Are we good? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, go ahead and we'll get back to people on the phone in just a second.
Reading about the registered sex offender they're going to release.
Oh, in Essex, so this is like Essex Town
But I
Hall.
blocked the video.
All right.
Where's
So
the video of
my
the
question is
victim?
do we know how
Oh,
old
you blocked
was
out.
he originally
Yeah.
attacked back in 1997? I'm just wondering what his, what his target is for age-wise for adult women. I know that some people have some, predators like that have a preference in terms of how to go after certain females of certain ages. I'm just wondering if you knew what his target is.
Can any of the folks from DLC or anyone else here answer that?
I'll do my best, Ron. And I'm sorry to introduce myself earlier. I was on a different computer. My name is Doug Densmore. I'm the supervisor of the sex offender supervision team for the Department of Corrections and Burlington Probation and Parole. His likely victims would be adult women. The victim in this case was a stranger. So I would say any woman who's an adult should pay attention to her surroundings and what's going on and take safety precautions.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. I was wondering if it was all right to speak.
Yes, can you tell us who you are?
Yeah, my name is Heather, and I regularly visit the Eden area. It's one of my favorite places to go and camp. There's quite a lot of lakes and nice campgrounds in the area. And I adore Vermont for its freedom and the safety that it usually provides. However, with this release, I am extremely uncomfortable with with being able to go and be in what is usually my most sacred place in the area. And I just feel as though that the releasing of someone who has denied help should not be released at all. And if there is by any chance a legislator or a judge or anyone that could be called upon to maybe revoke his release, I would be very interested in knowing that, considering that the woman could have been murdered if it wasn't for the sake of her dog being there. And the effect of the crime is likely and is being said to possibly happen again. I feel as though it is just a ticking time bomb. I would also like to explain that I am a survivor of a sex offender, and after being given a restraining order and him going to court and being told that he had to classify himself as a sex offender for the rest of his life, he continued to do those horrible acts and had never changed. So I have a very hard time believing that he will not offend again. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry that that happened to you, and certainly those feelings that you're having are understandable. I would say that I'm not sure if there's anyone from the legislature on this call tonight or anything like that, but certainly I don't believe we have any alternative, or in fact, I know we don't have any alternative at this point other than to have his release. So I would encourage you to talk to a legislator here in Vermont and see if that's something that they'd be willing to.
Okay. Thank you. It sounds like.
So I went ahead and muted everyone's microphone so we could stop that. If you need to speak, go ahead and unmute yourself and then go ahead and ask. Haley, oh, I'm sorry, Haley, do you still have your hand up or do you have another question?
Yes, I do have another question.
Okay, I'm going to let you wait for just a minute because I'm going to get this gentleman that just spoke up, and because he hasn't asked a question yet. Sir, go right ahead.
Sure. My name is Lee, and I'm a public school teacher. I'm just wondering if you could speak to the restrictions in place for his access to schools or other places that might be considered, high interest targets or otherwise targets. If you could speak to the legal restrictions that might be in place for him, please. Thanks.
Okay. Doug, can you speak to that as far as the sex offender registry?
Well, the sex offender registry is about where he lives, where he works, his contact information. The sex offender registry does not provide restrictions like we're talking about here. That would be something provided by the Department of Corrections or the courts. And unfortunately, we have neither entity involved here after the 13th of October.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure I was correct in saying that he has no restrictions as far as it comes to schools or anything like that after the 13th.
Chief, real quick, I also wanted to thank you and the other people present for hosting such a forum. I think this is a really great thing that you're doing, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. I'm going to go with Gary Marvell.
Hi, Gary Marvel. I'm Field Operations Manager for the Department of Corrections. I just wanted to add a little caveat to the no restrictions around schools. Just like any adult that the school wouldn't want on the premise, a school can put a no trespass order on any individual. So if a school is aware of this individual spending time and they're not comfortable with that for obvious reasons, they could always push for a no trespass order, just like they could with any other adult that would be in the community that they didn't want on that premise. So
that's absolutely true. Yep. Okay, Jen B.
Yeah, hi, this is Jen, and I apologize if I missed this. I know that there are several agencies that are here talking about providing supports. Can you talk a little more specifically about what those are and what that entails or looks like?
Sure. Christina, or Susanna, do you want to handle that?
So I am the reentry coordinator. My name is Christina Nunn at the Essex Community Justice Center. And we have put out an offer for Mr. Yandow to engage with us to offer him support. Our goal is for no more victims. Our goal is to keep the public safe. What studies show is that when we support and give regard to people who have been incarcerated and have offended, they're less likely to offend again. So that is our goal. The things that we can help him with are basic things in helping with employment, filling out applications. We can also model pro-social relationships via our Community Justice Center and our volunteers. We will always have a police officer with us when working with him if he chooses to engage.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't know, like what exactly it entailed. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Let's go with Erica Quallen.
Hi, I'd like to echo the thank you for having this meeting tonight. I really appreciate it. I am one of these adult women living in the community, and this has definitely been a big stressor for me since I saw the press release. I live right in the junction, and I take the bus to and from UVM a couple days a week. With the sun setting earlier and earlier, it's causing me some stress of walking home from the bus stop, particularly at night. So I am wondering if there are different things that you recommend. I've been thinking about going out and buying pepper spray and walking with my dog as much as I can. Obviously, I can't take her on the bus with me. So I'm wondering if there are things that we can do in the community, particularly women walking at night.
So yes, the things that you just mentioned are some of the things that I would suggest to you. The other things that I would suggest is maybe having a friend either meet you there where you're walking from, and maybe you walk together, or simply calling a person when you get off the bus and then talking and having a conversation with them while you're walking to your house. So that way you have that kind of connection to someone else. Other than that, I would tell you, just as everyone should in their everyday lives, not just because of this situation, but everyone should be aware of their surroundings, at least, and paying attention to things that might be out of place or suspicious persons and circumstances and that type of thing. And usually if your senses are starting to tell you there's danger, there's a reason for that. So that's what those are the things that we would suggest for you.
Thank you. I have definitely done the virtual walk home with a friend after years of living in Burlington and going to college there. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good idea. Okay. We have Brant. Brant, do you have a question? Okay. Do we have anyone on the phone that has a question? If you do, just go ahead and unmute yourself and then speak. Tell us who you are.
Hi, Brant Hopkins here, concerned citizen.
Hi, Brant.
Wondering if, while incarcerated, Mr. Yandow's disciplinary record indicates any additional violent tendencies.
I'm going to let Doug answer that one.
Yeah, Gary, please correct me if I'm wrong, but institutional behavior is not public record. So I don't believe I can share that with the public.
Doug, that's correct. Yep. It's not, there's a lot of information of that nature that we're simply not legally permitted to share with the public. So.
Susanna?
I'm just seeing in the chat that one of the guests said, I'm unable to access my microphone, but I'm wondering if it's possible to inform us of where he will be living and possibly working. Thank you for having this meeting for our community.
PJ, yep, I saw that question in there. Unfortunately, we cannot tell you exactly where this person will be living. And the other person who commented that they believe they'll be on the sex offender registry is correct that the town will be on the sex offender registry. However, the exact address is not on there, and we are not allowed or able to give that out. Do we have any other questions on the phone?
I see that Jen B has her hand up. Jen, are you ready to ask your question?
No, I apologize. I think I just forgot to put it down.
Okay. How about Joan C? I see a hand up there.
Yes. Can you tell me if the picture that's been provided is a recent picture? And also, can you tell us where he's been incarcerated all these years? Thank you.
Doug or Gary, can you answer that?
The photo is accurate. Yeah, it is an updated photo, and he would have been throughout the system, I imagine, throughout. Given the amount of time he's been incarcerated, I wouldn't be surprised if he's been at most, if not all, of the facilities in the state. Doug, do you have any more specific information about that?
No, I mean, I think the offender locator would show his current facility of incarceration if people were interested, but to go through the whole history, we'd have to check the movement history. But like Gary said, someone who's been in this long has probably been in most of our correctional facilities. And he will be released from Springfield Correctional Facility where he's housed.
Thank
okay.
you.
And I don't know if you heard that, but it is a recent photograph.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. We have another, looks like a question in the chat, wondering whether Mr. Yandow accepts the community help will be made public. We certainly, I believe, can release that. I'm not sure. I would have to check to see what the rules are around that, whether we have confidentiality rules or anything once he's part of that. I would have to get other advice on that. So I'm sorry, I don't know that, Scott. I have a question from Betsy. How can we access the offender locator? That was what Doug was just talking about. I believe that's a state website. Am I right?
Yes, it is. I'm not sure. I think we might be able to post a link in the chat, but I am not sure if I can do that. I can try.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Betsy. Do we have any other questions? Anyone on the phone? Oh, here we go. Megan?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Again, thank you for having this meeting. This release is very traumatizing, I think, for a lot of women. As an athlete and someone who is out often by themselves, to hear the recommendations of having someone on the phone or walk with a friend, that's not feasible for a lot of us. I want this individual to be able to find success and to move on. I want them to find a job. But I think a lot of women in the community are very, very scared. And we're very, very concerned for our safety and our children's safety. And it's just, I really just wanted to say thank you for having this meeting because it's very helpful. But it's also very concerning for a lot of us because we don't know exactly what to expect. I want to provide forgiveness because that's easier than hatred. It's easier than condemning someone for their life for making a mistake, possibly. But I remember this crime from when I was a child. I remember this. And so it's just, it's very hard. And I just hope that we're able to move beyond this. But it's, I'm just very nervous. I think that's just what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Completely understand. If there's something that the police department or community justice center can do for you, please let us know.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Who am I?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, this is Judy on the phone. I'm just curious. You say you can't watch him. He has to be treated like everybody else. But how do we know that he's not around? And what are you guys doing to make sure that he's behaving himself? This is scary.
I completely understand, and that's why we're concerned and holding this meeting and why we've been working behind the scenes. Certainly understandable that it's scary. Like I said, we have to unfortunately treat him like every other citizen. We cannot seem like we are harassing him or giving him any more attention than someone else would be. You probably heard of profiling. We cannot be accused of that. But the police department is aware of him. We have his photograph. All of our officers have his information, and that hopefully we will never have to handle any kind of complaints dealing with him. But we certainly know about him, and we will bear in mind that he is here in our community.
Will you have more officers kind of making rounds to make sure people are okay? This is creepy. For those of us that are walking alone and have no one with us and are unable to.
I completely understand. So yes, we will have officers out doing their patrols like we normally do, and we will, obviously people know about, or our officers know about this person in the community, and we have his photograph, and if we see him I'm sure the officer will probably give him a second look. But we won't be able to stop him or anything like that, but we will certainly make sure that we're looking for any kind of suspicious activity that might be involving him, as we always do.
That he might be following somebody or...
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
That's good to know. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hi, this is Heather again.
Hi, Heather.
And I was just curious, with being classified as a sex offender, if that would keep him from being allowed in very vulnerable places, such as like nude beaches that are available at Vermont. Yeah.
Can anyone else answer that? I do not know that myself.
I can speak to that. Yeah, there's no, it's really, it's a bit of a myth that the sex offender registry in Vermont restricts people's movement. It really is a system for tracking and providing the public with information about the whereabouts and the compliance status. of individuals who have committed a sexual offense, a registrable sexual offense. So there really are no restrictions like might be typically known on a national level, might be more conventionally known to restrict where housing can be or where people can travel. That's really not a feature that has been imbued within the legislation in Vermont for the sex offender registry stipulations. So he really doesn't have any limitations on where he can go. It's really on individual organizations that, like we said earlier, with, like, for example, the school would have to take it upon themselves to take that measure. It wouldn't. There's no automatic limitations on movement.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So there's a question in the chat. How many other registered sex offenders of any level are currently living in the village of Essex Junction? I would have to look, and I'd be looking at the same website that you'd be looking at. If you go to the Vermont Sex Offender Registry website, I believe if you put in a zip code, I believe it will tell you a list of folks that are living in this area. We talked about supports. There's another one in here, Don, about the supports that will be offered to him. Christina mentioned those before. I'll let her go ahead and.
Yep, I'm happy to. I'm Christina Nunn. I'm the reentry coordinator at the Essex Community Justice Center. And we have offered Mr. Yandow supports because the studies do show that people who are supported, who have access to other humans and not isolated, actually have a less likelihood to reoffend or therefore recidivate into prison again. So we offer this support in the name of having there be no more victims in the community and for public safety. And that's why we were working with the Essex Police Department. They will always be with us when we offer support to this individual. I will never be meeting with Mr. Yandow on my own. I will always have a police officer and or a volunteer in the community who has active volunteer with the Community Justice Center. The types of support could range from helping Mr. Yandow fill out applications for jobs. We, in our circles that I would typically offer to someone via my job, we would call a COSA, Circle of Support and Accountability. This does not apply to Mr. Yandow, but in that we do model pro-social behavior and hold each other accountable within the circle. And this is gaining trust within this individual's self and within the community for more community engagement and actual more motivation to engage with people rather than to offend against them. It can also be, like I said, emotional, gaining access to other organizations that would assist Mr. Yandow in maybe he wants to find a doctor or a counselor or something, and I would help connect those two things. Those are the kind of supports.
Okay, I see Joan has her hand up. Joan C.
Yes. His release must be traumatizing all over again to his victim. Do we know if any help has been offered to her at this time? Thank you.
Susanna, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I've been in touch with the victim advocate through the Department of Corrections, who's been working with her since the very beginning. And the victim of this crime was given advance notice that this was happening, has been offered a number of different supports for this new stage. And in addition to the supports through DOC, I understand has additional supports through family and friends. So yeah, she's on a lot of people's minds. Thank you for asking that.
Okay, does anyone else have any further questions? Anyone on the phone? Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I guess I was still on mute. I thought I was off. My name's Nancy, and I'm just wondering, is it legal to carry pepper spray? Just a regular citizen, and if so, where do you purchase that? Or do you have any other suggestions for other things we can do to protect ourselves other than just watching our surroundings?
Yes, it is legal for you to carry pepper spray. There are no restrictions on that here in Vermont. Where to purchase it? I would say a sporting goods store. There are several around that do carry those.
Okay.
Or, you can, I believe, I'm not sure, but you might even be able to order it on Amazon with no problems.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Bet. Anyone else?
You can get pepper spray on Amazon. I just looked it up.
There you go.
Thank you.
In addition to pepper spray, I mean, even something as simple as one of the loud panic buttons that you can have on your keychain could be really helpful because it's going to alert anybody nearby to something going on, and I think could be a good deterrent. There's also small like tasers, like pocket-sized stun guns that you can get fairly inexpensively online as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, the only thing I would caution is that any weapon that you arm yourself with is bringing a weapon to this situation. So you need to be prepared that could be used against you as well. So just receive some training with anything that you're going to consider. I would say.
You can get alarms on Amazon too, safety alarms, all
Yes.
kinds of them.
Great, thank you.
There's a question in the chat. Will the public be notified if he moves to a different town?
Generally not. Although that will change on the sex offender registry when he updates his address. That will change on there.
Chief, I think I saw a question earlier, Chief, and I may just ask it on that person's behalf. And I think it was around if the person chooses not to be compliant with the registry, what happens then? What are the repercussions?
What was the question one more time?
If the person chooses not to be compliant and keep up the registry, then what happens?
So then there is a charge for that, and a person can be charged with failing to update the registry. Yes, that is true.
I see a hand up from RM.
Yep.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having this meeting, as everyone else has said. I was on the board of directors of then Women's Rape Crisis Center, now Hope Works, when this happened. I remember everything there is about this particular case. It was all-consuming. And because it was a national case, because of certain things that happened, it truly was all-consuming. My question for you, Chief Hogue, we have 34 registered sex offenders in Essex. The fact that you don't have that number on the top of your head, I take that to be a good sign, that for the most part, things happen. We have people in our community that we need to be aware of and be careful of, but we can continue our lives the way we did a week ago before we knew this was happening. Would you say that, just a little more awareness and paying attention, but that Is that fair to say? Safe to say?
Yes.
And again, I really do. I remember everything about this case. I readily admit to when I read this being extremely triggered because it was like, oh my God. But seeing that there are 34 here and things are relatively calm gives me hope.
Right. Right. And you're just, you know, what you just said was, you know, we were all living our lives up until the other day when we heard about this. You know, that's kind of where we're at. We're asking folks to live their lives, just be more concerned about some of the things that are going on in the community, this in particular, and, you know, be more aware of their surroundings, be more aware of the people that they're in contact with. And everyone has this person's photograph, you know, but we still have to go out. We can live our lives the way that we have been. And like you said, I mean, we're doing well here in Essex with 34 sex offenders that are already here, and we're living every day with that. So I hope everyone gets where I'm going with that.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions from anyone? Okay. I see in the chat that HopeWorks their line is going to be open for another 30 minutes if anyone needs to contact them, and certainly they're a great resource, and I would encourage anyone who needs to reach out to them. So I really appreciate everyone's attention tonight and taking an hour out of your life to come and speak to us and learn about what's actually going on with this release, and get factual information. I would ask you all to enjoy your Friday night. And again, I very much appreciate all your concern, and having this meeting, I believe, is a good thing for the community. And I'm certainly happy that we were able to do that for the folks that are here. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.